the 60,000 is what it's cost, and I think it's something that should carry on. What I don't like getting my head round is all the other businesses, and mainly the pubs, because they're the main part of the Blues Festival, particularly the Fringe, the Blues and the other venues. They run their pub, they sell their beer, they make sure they've got beer in the pumps, and they make a profit over the weekend. And with some of them, it tides them over and helps their overall profit for the remainder of the year, which is a good thing. And I don't see why we should be having to pay £11,300 extra money to the Leisure Trust when they're just being greedy. And I'm all in favour of going ahead with it. I'm all in favour of leaving the budget as it was, as we suggested a month ago, at 60,000 cost. But I do really feel miffed off at them being greedy at the last minute and coming and saying, we want an extra 11,300. And I agree with Simon on that. I think we should call the bluff.
I think there's a discussion.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But I don't think it's been that much money in 2019, 2018,
No.
2017.
It's never been there.
No, we've never had it on the budget. So anyway, so anybody else want to say anything? No. I'm assuming you're going to pay for the bands through the tickets and any other money, sponsors or whatever you can get, Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, as I've said many times to anybody that wants to listen, we're not in this to make a profit. We're not a promoter. We're music lovers. We can communicate with promoters. We know how to book bands. We know where to get them from. But Colne Blues Society, as a limited company, is bound by its articles of incorporation to put any profits back into the continuation of the festival. And that's what we intend to do. This is why, as we discussed with Nathan and Gina when we had a meeting with them, and Gina's put it in the notes here, the idea is year on year that we reduce the costs to the council by taking on more of it ourselves. We hope that we can make it a kind of a rolling process whereby the budget for the subsequent years is accumulated beforehand, and it becomes over time self-funding. So yes, obviously we have things in place. There are potential sponsors that we're talking to. We do our own fundraising activities. We're developing several ways that we can raise money. We've got a good website with merchandise now and all the rest of it. We're doing all the right things to raise money. And the idea is that goes into the pot for the continuation of the festival and chips away at the council's infrastructure costs year on year. That's the big plan. If we can make it work, I think we can.
Yeah. One other thing, I was told that you need some, maybe a couple of good headliners, because that's what sells the tickets in the first place, as it were. And are you thinking about what sort of a pricing, about £100 for the 3 days or something? Have you not got?
I think, well, as we discussed with Nathan and Gina, that we'd keep the ticket price the same for next year, which I think represents good value for money, given the cost of living crisis and inflation going up and all the rest of it. There is no doubt about it that whatever happens and whoever is available at this late stage, band-wise, we will put together a good programme. What I would say, because I think it's important that the councillors know this, we do intend to promote some of the more local bands that have grafted year on year and fully deserve a place on those main stages. That in itself will possibly make the ticket price more attractive to locals. Locals don't seem to buy tickets. We'd like to change that. We'd like more people from Colne to buy tickets. And I think that's a way to achieve it. The idea behind what Peter did, which is a very good move, is he tried to put something like a headline act at the start and the end of every day. We'd like to do the same thing. With every hour, literally, that goes by, fewer and fewer potential headline acts are available. There are some which we think are available to us. Obviously, we have to discuss things with them yet, which is entirely dependent on the outcome of tonight. But we can put together a good programme.
Good, excellent.
Mm.
What else was, oh, and of course, we've got the lovely hippodrome will be, hopefully it'll be smashing, and if there's this anything, it'll only be a little hole or something. in the
Absolutely,
wall.
yeah.
And of course, the lovely little theatre.
Not sure about the little theatre. The works that they've got planned would mean that they wouldn't be able to go ahead.
Mm.
And actually, it's really major work that they're talking about in the courtyard to extend the toilet block. We need to talk to them yet, but we had kind of written off the little theatre for next year, but with a view to bringing them back on board in 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd use the mini muni for the acoustic.
Absolutely. I always like the idea of the. I'm sorry, I can't bring myself to call it the mini muni. It's a silly name. It's the lesser muni. I always like the idea of that being the acoustic stage, and I think it's worked well in previous years. So that can be a similar attraction to what the little theatre has been. You know, for
The price is
if the price is right. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. The only other one thing I want to say that, I think Pete had, I don't know, 50 bands or something, but people aren't coming for the quality. So, we don't have to have as many as that. You can start a little bit later or have a bit of a break in at tea time, like Gary Hood did when he first did it. So as long as, the bands are good, you don't need 100 of them when you can have 50 that are good.
I actually have an opportunity to meet with Gary, which I think I'll take up because he would be a very good guy to.
So you're looking to, and you want young bands on, to get them up, and you have a mixture of.
Yes, we do. Yeah, it will all be rooted in blues.
Yeah.
The stuff that's not blues will be restricted to the fringes.
Yeah.
The main stages will be rooted in blues. Now, that's not to say that it will be more contemporary blues and more interesting takes on the blues. It all comes from the blues in the end. But yes, it'll be an interesting and varied lineup. And judging from what we've seen from other festivals around the country and the headliners they've been putting on, the people that we have in mind, if we can get them, will be a good draw.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Chairman, would you like me to move something initially so that then if anyone wants to amend it, change it, kick it out or whatever they want to do with it, but if I initially put something on the table for a discussion, I will
decision
for a decision, yes. But if anybody wants to amend it, there we go. So I will move that we do go ahead with the Blues Festival in 23 and 24 for both years. And the council will provide the £60,000 cost on both years. And that we do enter into discussions with the Leisure Trust re the Municipal Hall, and dependent on what comes out of those discussions, there either will be a venue at the Muni this year or there won't, depending on what comes out of those discussions. And can I suggest initially, and this is the bit anyone can change if they wish, that we make arrangements for Gina and Simon or Nina, either way, I'm not bothered, that they enter into a discussion jointly with the Leisure Trust. And I will put that on the table initially and see if anyone wants to change anything or whatever we want to do.
Thank you. Howard, did
No,
you
I was,
want to second it? Yes.
if David,
I'm going to second that motion.
No, I think
My apologies.
Councillor Clamp did.
I'm
So
saying-
right, we've had a proposal and a seconder. Can I ask people to vote? All those in favour? All those against? Nobody. Right. Thank you.
which
So you-
which just goes to show that it was quite successful when they used to open it with Slack Alice. So Friday night was always very busy.
If they still existed, how would they be booked?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So that's lovely. Thank you very much. Right. Before I take the next item, let me be clear that the only reason we are taking this item now is because item 6 on the planning list is a direct.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Wow. Right. Yeah. So I'll start again. Right. Are you all listening? Right. So the only reason we are taking this item now is because item 6 on the planning list is in a direct contradiction to the Colne neighbourhood plan. This is the reason this council is considering paying for an outside body to a professional to respond for Colne Town Council to safeguard and defend the neighbourhood plan. This piece of land is in the plan and it's not for housing. But as we have not yet arrived at the final stage for the plan, this is our only way of protecting the integrity of the Colne neighbourhood plan. Okay. That's, oops.
Okay, if we can just start with the planning list. I'll just go through as normal.
Can I ask for a consensus? Who should? Yes. Shall we do? Right. Right. So item 5 on item 6A December planning. It's 22000790/OU8 Accrue Capital Limited, land to the east of Windermere Avenue, Colne. That's outline development of 150 new homes. So can I have some response from councillors? Yeah.
So I am the chairman of the Colne Neighbourhood Plan, and unfortunately it falls to town councils and parish councils to defend their work. So it's been 7 years, 7 long years of meetings and thoughts and discussions and good ideas. And it is wildly technical. I've been speaking to examiners over the last couple of weeks, and they were opining to me that Eric Pickles, when he came up with this idea, had no idea what it was going to turn into. And I certainly had no idea what it was going to turn into. And I'm sure that there are other town and parish councils that are in the same position. They've had to go to the High Court against developers who've been actively against the plan. So we're at something called Regulation 16, which means that we have moderate planning weight. So you'd think that would be quite good, but we have not seen the representations at Regulation 16, and we won't see them until the moment that the inspector or the examiner sees them. We can imagine that we have, as well as many of you in this room wrote in support of 16, we can imagine that Crew Capital and their representatives will have written against our plan, which means that we've got a diminution of planning weight from probably moderate to slight. These things are up for debate. But what hasn't changed, and as many as you pointed out, is the position in the landscape. I was at Trawden Parish Council last night. I just ventured this ever so tentatively. They were trenchant. They were pointing out where you could see it in Winewall, pointing out where you could see it in Trawden, and Trawden Parish Council have put in an objection to this application, and I was really quite amazed. They usually only consider applications within their own parish area. So we've got its position in the landscape, it can't move. If you actually look at the visualizations that have been done, they are really strange. They are looking down Skipton Old Road. Well, yeah, You're not going to see it looking down Skipton Mill Road. There are some really odd ones. There are no distant views. And actually, the town council, weirdly, has done something which exactly sort of encapsulates the view situation. It's called, you can find it on our website under neighbourhood planning, it's called the significant views analysis, and it's page 13 and 14. You read that, you would think that you only have to consider the views. So there's the views. A lot of you have mentioned the curlew. I'd never heard of the curlew. I'm from the Fylde Coast, and I kept driving Edward to school and seeing this weird bird on the wall with a curved beak. I didn't know what it was. I asked people what it was. They said, oh, it's the curlew. But you can only say that when it's normal to you. Curlews live for 30 years. They come back to the same nesting grounds year after year. And we've had some really successful years recently. We've had them all lined up at Hayroyd on our wall, all the young ones. My mother rang me and said, the teenagers are on the wall. And I thought, there's a disaster, what's going on? And I went outside, there were just some birds on the wall, teenage birds were on the wall. So there's the curlew, that is really important. I've contacted Curlew Action. They've not got back to me, but I have contacted a wonderful chap, and some of you will know him in this room. He's called John Lamb, and he is the ecologist for the Lancashire Wildlife Trust. He has sent to David for more documents. There are documents, more documents. I think he's writing a master work. So we're very, very grateful to John Lamb for the ecology and the importance of the curlew. There is the famous Eastcombe Way, and some of the people in this room actually founded the Eastcombe Way. It's a promoted circular walk, and there's another one called the Three Villages Walk. And these walks, they're like the M25 of walks, and they are special. They're not just like your standard footpath, they are special ones. So they would be different, they would be changed. And I just want to touch on the layout, because there's an awful lot of detail. I don't know whether, have you actually looked at the documents on the planning portal? Have you actually seen them? There's 116 of them or something. And there's loads and loads of detail of layouts and house types and, oh yeah, there we go. And actually, I'm gonna say this out loud. I quite like some of those houses. I think they're quite nice, especially with the 60-foot trees next to them. I think they look great. But I'm not being sarcastic. I think they're really nice houses. Should they be on the upper rough? No. Will they be built? No, they won't be built. This is just like a sales document. This is an outline access application. This is just the sort of lovely drawings of a lovely imagination. That's what this is. And I think it's there to confuse most people, because certainly, and it took me a little while as I read through these documents to think to myself, no, the application is not about these houses. Nathan's put them up and he's probably thought, there we are, because month after month, he shows the visualizations of the things we are considering. We're not considering them. They're not to be considered. It's the application. Then, of course, there is the access. I'd like to know, and nobody's answered, I haven't asked anyone either, it's just in my head. I'd like to know, is there an agreement between the landowner on the lower rough and the landowner on the upper rough? Because actually, you'd need the landowner on the lower rough to have provided an easement. And if they haven't provided an easement, then there is no access from Windermere Avenue. I'd like to know, has McDermott Homes created that easement to the owner on the upper rough? Otherwise, the whole Windermere Avenue thing is pointless. And I think that the sort of one-way priority on Castle Road is potentially a danger. That is a road that has baling machines, silaging, all kinds of big traffic going up and down it. And then, of course, there's the whole sustainability. None of you have mentioned that. If you're at the top of the site and over near, say, I don't know, over on the east, the northeast, if you're over there, you are walking the better part of a kilometre to the nearest bus stop in Oak Street to go and see Councillor Butterworth. You're bored by the time you've got to go and see Councillor Butterworth. It's too far. It's not sustainable. It's not the sort of active travel that Lancashire County Council would promote. So I think actually in terms of things, there's an awful lot of things that are important to go at here. I'm not going to vote on this, and I'm not going to vote on any of the subsequent votes that we have, because I feel, having been at the last appeal and all of that, I am too compromised. I cannot look at it, although I think they're nice houses, they're not the houses that are being built. I cannot look at it entirely fairly because I feel so passionately about it. So I hope that you are not angry with me. I'm not going to vote, and I'm just looking at my colleagues and hoping they are.
Do you want to speak, Howard?
Yeah, they're very noisy as well, the curlews. Screech. No, I just put that in to show I know what a curlew is. The difficulty we've got is the lovely pictures that they put in, like that, and the other ones that are on the site. And I've just realised as I've been looking through the I don't know what they call it, the ecology report, which mentions bird life and other things. The bigger part of it appears to be a desk study. So what weight that carries, I don't know. But what it does say is that there are curlew present. It even says there's an oyster catcher. I'm not sure where that that is. Presumably it's on the Black Moss. No, not there. The reservoir anyway. We all know there are gulls and what have you there, but there are lots and lots of I'm amazed at how many there are just on the list here. I suppose it's a certain amount of there's a technical word for it, of a sort of blindness when you're that used to them that you don't notice them. You don't notice the kestrels or the curlews or the oyster catchers, and we have to protect it. I do think, though, it's going to be a battle, although the news that I heard earlier today is that the government appear to be dropping mandating the number of houses that you have to build, or that councils have to build, and they're just going to be advisory. So that at least is a step in the right direction. I assume we're taking the Kirkwells thing at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
Because this pile of papers, because that I think is, so what's the word, is vital. I mean, I can't think of another word, because we need someone that can argue back using the right technical terms in supporting the neighbourhood plan and the views that we the amount of time that went into preparing the document that Sarah said of the views. It bounced back and forth 2 or 3 times when we said, no, that's not quite the right view. You're looking not the wrong way, but we didn't say move to the left or right. I'm sure we were a bit more technical of saying west or east or whatever it was. But it's important that we have that technical input to help. And I've forgotten the amount. It was it 2,500?
Yeah.
So I'd like to move that we formally object, and I don't think we should. We can put in loss of wildlife, etc. But I think the important thing that is going to carry the most weight is the fact that it goes against the neighbourhood plan, the what's the word they use, the emerging neighbourhood plan. So added to that, I'd like to move that we approve the
Payment
2,000
for the-
whatever
For the
for
professional.
Kirkwells to do it, and ask them to get on with it at PDQ, as they say.
Yes. It's, sorry.
First of all, I'd like to second the motion, and I'd also like to speak on something that's that young lady said that she can't see the roof of where she lives, and it won't affect her. But yes, it will. I'm going to give you some reasons now that are not planning reasons to stop the build. So at this moment in time, we have a fire brigade within Colne. It's amazing. They are over the record from getting the bell to go out and rescue people from a burning building. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Now they have a new estate coming. So the fire brigade will have more and more pressure put on them. Young man behind me there, young Ash, he spoke to the chief fireman. He loves Colne Fire Brigade because they're retained and they're good value for money. You put more houses here, they'll have more stress, more strain, and you might lose the pump. The ambulance service, it takes hours now, hours to get an ambulance. Put another 150 houses there with people. Let's just talk, these are not planning reasons to stop the build, but these are what people that don't live here decide. This is why I like the local people doing local things. So if you look at the 150 houses, they're not going to be 18, 19-year-olds buying them houses. They're going to be mature people with families. You're talking a minimum of 2 cars, man and husband, maybe one for the son, maybe one for the daughter. We'll just say there's 3 of them. That's 3 cars per house. That's 450 cars coming out of these 2 exits, right? And if you go up there on a school day, 20 past, 8, you can't move. So where these going, they are going to be funneled down into the town. And if you look at the motorway, with some bright spark decided to put a M65 motorway off the M6 heading towards Yorkshire. I've just made a note here. The transport minister with Andrew Stevenson came to Colne to look at the railway and things like that. He was stuck on the traffic in traffic for an hour, just getting up that little road where the BMW garage is. So what people are not looking at, and is not planning reasons to fill it, but they're not looking at the people in town. It will affect that lady that lives down the road. It will affect her. It'll affect everyone in here. The fire brigade tide will slip, and we might lose it a pump. And it's incredible what this decision is going to make to the town. It's all right them making money. I'm just saying that, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that, let's go ahead. But they're not looking at me. Me. And somebody said I have a duty of care as a councillor. I have a duty of care as a resident. I live here. And do I want 150 houses there? No, I don't. God bless them who wants a new house, but our place is beautiful. Beautiful. We have it just right. The fire brigade just right. The ambulance just right. Even the bin men are just right. Are we going to get a new bin wagon for them 150 houses? No, we're not. We're not. So then it's going to disrupt the whole infrastructure of our beautiful town. So I'm glad to second your motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, well said, but those aren't planning. They don't carry any weight at all. So Liz, you wanted to speak, and then I've got David.
Okay. Neil's right about the cars, because whatever the crew say, people are not going to be able to use public transport to go anywhere. I spent best part of the whole day using Trainline and Google Maps to work out how long it would take you to get to work in 6 different destinations from there. Interestingly, it takes you only 7 minutes to cycle to the station from there, but it takes you 15 minutes to go back because of the gradients. It's 1.9 miles by bike, 1.5 miles on foot. And when you get to the station, you probably are going to have to cycle back again, because for every day this week, the first 2 trains of the morning have been cancelled. And there's only 2 trains between 6 o'clock and 9. So the earliest you can get to Burnley is 20 to 10, which is going to be far too late for most people. And it's going to take you 3 hours to get to Manchester on the bus, because though the Whichway exists, it's very rarely direct from Skipton to Manchester. So you have to change. In fact, on one, I can't remember the destination, I think it was Preston, you had to change 3 times, took you 3 hours. And there wasn't a single journey where it wouldn't be quicker to use the car, even if you looked at the maximum time when the traffic was at its worst. That's one thing I wanted to say. The other thing is the residents on the Lower Rough had searches done prior to their purchase of those properties. And in those searches, Pendle Borough Council reassured them that the land was not, the surrounding land, in other words, the Upper Rough, was not appropriate for development and had already been developed to its, no, not developed, exploited to its maximum potential. That is Mr. Watson. That's a direct quote. So I don't quite understand what we're doing here, because either Pendle Borough Council was telling the truth to the prospective purchasers of those houses, or it wasn't. So I don't know why we're even discussing it, but I wholeheartedly, support what we're trying to do here
Do you
today.
want to say anything now, David? And then that David. David and David.
Yes, I'll say it now and then it's done with then, Chairman. There's 2 aspects to this planning application. And firstly, I agree, if this planning application was to go ahead, it would be a disaster to that area, because it's a fair chunk of land. It's just it's not only a green space, it's in the right place as well, because it's in the right place because it's accessible and a lot of people can get to it. But there is also another, so I would fully support refusal on this application. But there's also the predicament that it puts the neighbourhood plan in, because, and Mr. Wellett goes into that in his document that he has given us. And if this did go ahead, it does actually do some damage to the neighbourhood plan, because it virtually digs a great big hole in it before it's even been adopted fully. So that is the reason why we need this report, so that we can defend the neighbourhood plan. But what I would like to do, if the mover of the motion would allow it, is for me to add to what he has already moved, what Howard's already moved, that we do wait until the report comes back before we submit anything to Pendle in reply to this application, that we do hang back and wait for the report to come from Wellett's, which should not only defend the plan, it should defend us against this application as well. So it'll be twofold, and that we delegate to Gina and the chair of the neighbourhood plan group and the vice chair of the neighbourhood plan group, or their representatives, so that they can make, we delegate it to those 3 people to make a decision whether we send the wording as it has come from Mr. Wellett, or whether we beef it up a little bit and we'll leave it to them 3. And I would like you to add, Howard, if you would, that we delegate it to those 3 onto the end of the motion.
Because it'd get things going a bit, you know, you won't be holding it up for another big meeting, would you? It would be.
In fairness to us all, and I've been on various planning committees, as most of you know, for the last 30 years, I still think that Wellett's will come up with some stronger word in the week. So that is why I would like to delegate it. For you to decide what we do with their working.
Do you last word on this, David?
Thank you, I think a bit like Sarah, I've got a conflict, because obviously I was I was the Lidget and Beyond representative on the neighbourhood plan when it first started in 2015. It was obviously set up as the neighbourhood plan in order to then start to fight against unsustainable, inappropriate development all over the town. Obviously, it's taken many, many years. We've all aged dramatically in this room in terms of how this has now got to its final stage. I think defending the plan is important for local democracy because it's going to go to a vote. Once the examiner's done his bit and made some tweaks and suggestions, hopefully nothing more fundamental, then it'll go to a public referendum, and almost all plans get voted on successfully at public referendum. So we want the people of Colne to vote for this for the whole of Colne. So it's there to protect the whole of Colne. For this perspective, it's obviously protecting the Upper Rough. It's identified as a local green space. It passes the tests in the NPPF, and therefore we put it in the local green spaces document, number 4, if you want to look at it. But I'm conflicted because obviously I've got that Lidget and Beyond hat on. I'm the chairman of the Lidget and Beyond group, and we are going to fight this just like we fought the previous applications and the appeal as well. Hopefully we won't have to go as far as being a Rule 6 party and raising tens of thousands of pounds yet again, but we'll see where we get to. But I think in terms of all the points that Sarah mentioned about things like landscape, ecology, footpaths, highways, etc., highway safety is the big one that LCC start to look at now. We know there are several unsafe areas within this development or proposed development, although clearly it's a fantasy outline there. I'm sort of reminded as I was flicking through some of the myriad of documents. Remember that old Bill Bailey quote about the Argos catalogue being the laminated book of dreams? This is a bit like that. So if people are objecting, don't get sucked into, oh, what about that road? What about this house? Or what about that view? On those people look like they're having a happy time there. What about the playground? What about the pump house being renovated? Isn't that lovely? Investment in the community. A cafe which has to have a car park around it, and the police have written it has to have a massive great fence around it and ram bollards as well. So that's going to look lovely in a conservation area, isn't it? So again, addressing the impact on the conservation area was one of the big things from the 2016 appeal. So we'll be looking to explore routes where that impact is still present. They may shove all the houses up a bit and say we're not actually building in there, but that doesn't mean there's still not any impact. So there's a myriad of reasons where there are good objections to be made. Lidget and Beyond will be exploiting that. We too are commissioning a report from Kirkwells because we worked with them for many years on a wide range of things. And we're also looking for other experts to help us out in terms of other areas like ecology. We've got a highways expert as one of our team. And we're doing what we can with landscapes as well, because the landscape visualization, Colne Town Council spent some money getting the significant views analysis done. That helped the Lenches application when that came around because you can see it. And same with the Rough. If you go to several different places around Colne, up on the hills and valleys nearby, you can see it. You stand on the cricket pitch in the middle of the pitch there, you know, and you can see it all, and you'll see more of it. And that's the fact of it. And therefore, it's very easy to come up with a long list of objections. What we want is for Pendle Borough Council's officers to also agree with those objections. And then I'm sure the accrue capital, clues in the name. If you spend £550,000 buying the land and you spend a couple of £100,000 on the laminated book of dreams, and then you know you're going to probably lose locally, therefore you're going to go to appeal and spend another few more £100,000. But then when you come to sell it, you throw away half of those documents and you sell it for 5 million plus. That's where your capital gets accrued. That's all they're in it for. They're just speculators. They're not developers. They're not McDermott's. McDermott's before them had Junction Property, remember them. So lots of things to go for. The other thing on highways, by the way, smaller points, things like air quality. They've shut down the air quality meter on Windsor Avenue there. So therefore, all of that sort of stuff is going to settle in the winter months. It's going to be a nightmare there. So we're going to try and get some readings done of what the air quality is there. Whether we can do anything on highways impact in terms of volume of traffic, that was something we argued a lot for last time, but you've got to be really technical on things like that, and drainage as well. That's another one. But on the highways one, who remembers the phrase last time when there's spare capacity at every junction along North Valley? Yeah, right. Okay. So I can't vote on it tonight, but obviously you know where my sentiments lie.
Sarah?
I just realised that normally I have a little spot to say where we're up to in the neighbourhood plan, and there's a big audience here, so I should take another little spot, not about this application, but just where we're up to and the timelines. So we've finished Regulation 16, which is a consultation run by Pendle Council. We are now in reconciliation with Locality, which is the government's charity, to help us create a really sort of clean sheet for an examiner. And our big meeting is next Tuesday. So a week today, our people meet with Pendle Council. We go to, Gina and I going to, there's a train strike. David and I are driving to Liverpool to pick up this bloke and driving him home again at night because we're not making this after Christmas. So that's not very sustainable or ecological, and I'm sorry about that. But we wanted to get this done before Christmas. Yesterday, I heard from Pendle Council after how many emails, Gina? Don't like to think. A lot of wrangling, let's put that politely, over an inspector. We now have an inspector who's a chap from Wigan who did the Kelbrook and Sough neighbourhood plan. I have spoken to him briefly, mainly about Eric Pickles, and he has experience of neighbourhood plans mainly in Yorkshire and down south. He understands about the viability issues here, and he is a person who has been a planning officer, he's been an inspector, but interestingly, he's also been part of a group that's done a neighbourhood plan in Herefordshire. So I suppose you could say he's seen it from every possible angle. We only speak to him if we're spoken to, you know, we obviously hope that he will work on the plan. When I spoke to him, he said he would do all the reading and initial scoping before Christmas, and he would be in a position by mid-February, all things being equal, to have finished his examination. At that point, after the examination, typically there's a big list. And Gina and I already know about this because some of these things came up at Regulation 16. Some of them are small tweaks, some of them are bigger tweaks, some of them will be unexpected, some of them will come from next week's meeting on Tuesday, but there'll be a list. And he will say, we hope, that the plan meets the basic conditions if we address this list. So then there will be a small hiatus while we address the list. That is typical. It's a really enormous plan. It's in the top 1% of all plans in the country. It's got 19 pieces of evidence base. So it is a major piece of work. I cannot overstate how much effort has gone into it. So we expect to work through the list. We'll work through the list as quickly as we can. But the critical point is, from that mid-February moment, we gather an awful lot more planning weight. So I said we have moderate, but now probably only slight with regard to the upper rough. And obviously after examination, that examination is complete. So an expert has fully looked at it and checked it's met the basic conditions. So from mid-February, touching wood, all things being equal, the plan will then be substantial. So that is an awful lot of weight. Were this planning application to come to appeal with the upper rough still in it as a local green space and substantial, I cannot see genuinely what could be done at that stage. So that's sort of mid-February. Then I don't know, we're guessing how long it'll take us to put everything, address all the points. But at that point then, there has to be another sort of consultation. So this is post-examination and it's another 6 weeks. So I suppose in my mind, what I'm hoping for is that 6 weeks will be the second half of March and into April. And then looking at saving the taxpayer money, when there are the local elections in May, we will also have our town-wide referendum where every single person who's a resident of Colne gets to vote on the neighbourhood plan. And on the day that that result is announced, that plan is made and has full force. So that's the hoped for timeline. Of course, anything could happen. I've been wrong before when things have taken longer than we would have wished. But they are all the gates that we have to meet and all the things that we have to do. And that's where we're up to.
Right. But are you happy that what the thing that Howard proposed, that to let Wells? Yeah, yeah, and the bit that David wanted added on, yeah. So are we clear at what we voted on? Yeah. We've had a proposer and a seconder, so all those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. Right, we can go on to the other applications now. They'll take 2 minutes. Yeah, we do. Simon. we need to get that's how we put it big announcement. Should we're picking over. You know, get your tickets as soon as possible. You don't have to put just the following, you know.
Yes.
And I'm sure you'll be able to do.
Yes, forest tickets concerned,
We don't have to say, you know, just line up, or we, you know.
oh, yeah.
And you can do great, you know.
Even nonsense, that's the line.
No, it's still even, but people are putting, you know, saying, you know, so and so festivals on the tickets now line up to be announced. Yes. Whenever. So that's that.
So we are still in a meeting there.
Oh.
Yeah, so Did you guys get to? I think so, I never said anything.
I never came in there, but we were in next door, so presumably they were on the
Yeah. And I suppose you could get your people who are doing, you know, sound and that, don't you be doing it rather than having to pay for that fellow from Manchester and all that business. Yeah. Right. Application, thank you. Application number 22/0752 TPO, it's just lime trees, TPO. We're all right with that? Yeah. Did we say yes? Yeah. The next is an appeal. Those are the 22/0511 and 22/0019. Mrs. Begum, 11A Keithley Road, Colne. Change of use. Skipton Road. Where did I say? Oh, sorry.
Obviously, our original comment to the original application was no comment, so.
If I can explain, because I saw it come to another meeting. I was a bit surprised about this. Pendle Council put refuse because it was a use case that isn't in a town centre. So that was the reasoning. It's not something that any of us picked up on at all. So we've got nothing to add. I'm not suggesting we do anything. It's just interesting.
Right. 22/0770/HHO. It's 43 Harrison Drive, Colne. Erection of single-story extension to front elevation. There it is.
I'll only one comment on that, Chairman. We've left several.
I know there are, yeah.
So I think it's too late to say no, you can't do it. No comment.
Yeah, because there's lots on Ruskin Avenue like that, isn't there? Yeah. The next one is 22/0781/HHO. It's an extension requested. 23 Windermere Avenue, Colne. Flipping heck. Extension of single-story garage, single-story rear extension, conversion of an integral garage into family room, and erection of drive. It's a lot of extra things in there. What do we think? Is there any?
From memory, it's one. It's either what was the show house or next door to the show house.
Yeah,
And again, from memory, at the back, there's quite a large garden, so I don't think it goes near. I was just trying to find the thing on here, and I can't now, which is a shame.
it's quite a big house if it's next to the showroom, isn't it? Show house. Is it that double fronted 4-bedroom?
Yeah, it's actually, I found it now. It's quite a large plot. So the extension, although it's large, isn't large in the context of the plot. I'm surprised that somebody's come back so soon. I mean, they can have only been occupied for what, 12 months, maybe a little bit more. And they do provide another garage. I'm assuming that's what that is at the thing.
On the other side. I don't know. So are we saying
I
nothing?
d-
Just,
I don't think there's any
It's not-
grounds to. Yes,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
well, not quite. What's the I can't remember the name of it. The bit that comes off the front of Windermere, the little
Oh, yeah.
McGuigan houses up there. Forgotten the name of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and all those, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the nearest houses, but they're quite a way away.
So we no comment,
I think
no comment, right.
You would have thought, Chairman, they would have bought what they wanted initially in the first place, rather than modify.
I
what
just
makes
don't
better.
understand people.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't need the garage, because nobody needs a car on the road.
no.
But I don't think there's any grounds to object anyway.
Intriguing that there isn't a drive there now.
That is all to me.
Yeah, that's all finished. I shall close the meeting. Thank you. The meeting's now closed. Date and time of next meeting is Tuesday, the 20th of December.